so fine. She was lovely, and we were horny. She said, can I make love to you? I said, I won't think this ever, Riverside Avenue. Here's what she said. Well, listen, she talked like a guitar, that woman did. I never understood a word she said. Maybe that's why we got along so well. I don't know, baby. Ask David. Come on, David. Here in St. Louis, Missouri tonight. Is that true? And I feel like over the last hour or so, we've got to know each other a little bit better, man. You know, we're all the same deep down inside. We all got the same emotions, you know what I'm saying? And I think that sometimes people get in a little bit of trouble because they keep all their emotions inside. People keep their joy inside. People keep their anger inside. People keep all this shit inside. It's not good, people. You gotta keep a flow going. You gotta keep the emotions coming out so there's room for new ones to come in. It's like a flow, you dig? That's what I believe. So I tell you what, I'm gonna ask you guys a question right now, give you a chance to express your emotions, all right? Check it out. Just how you feel, right? Are y'all feeling good tonight? People, I'm looking for a catharsis. I'm saying, are you all feeling good tonight? Oh. Are you feeling good, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good? Feeling good, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good. Feeling good, feeling good, feeling good, feeling good. Good, 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 good. Tell me one more time. Are y'all feeling good? Yeah, people, because you know, when you guys feel good, you send some energy up here, man. I see it in your eyes. I see you singing along with the words of the songs. I see you hugging each other. I see you dancing. I see you getting into it. And that all creates energy. And that energy comes our way, man. And when we feel it, we dig down a little bit deeper. We crank it up a little bit louder. We rock a little bit harder. And we send it back to you. And then you guys feel this new energy, right? And I see it in your eyes, man. You start singing those words, you start dancing, you start getting into it, and you send that energy up here. And we feel it. And we keep cranking up a little bit louder. We dig down a little bit deeper. We rock a little bit harder. We send it out to you. You guys feel it, you send it up to us. We feel it, we send it to you. You send it back to us. We send it back to you. You send it back to us. And before you know it, there's a big old rock and roll party in St. Louis tonight. 157. Talking about a 157. 157. Riverside Avenue. Yeah. 157 Riverside Avenue, baby. Let's open the bass guitar for you tonight. Neil Dowdy on the keyboards. Dave Amato on lead guitar. The Hitman, Brian Hitt on drums. I'm Kevin Cronin. We're REO Speedwagon. We love y'all, St. Louis. We always have, and we always will. Thank you.
I actually had not been in a rock band at all until I went away to college. I thought I was going to be an electrical engineer, and just happened to be roommates with our first drummer, Alan Gratzer, and he was in a band. They didn't like their keyboard player, but they couldn't fire him because he owned all the equipment and the name of the band. So they all quit that band and joined up with me as the keyboard player, and we were looking for a name for the new band, and I was in my history of transportation class, and the guy wrote REO Speedwagon on the board because it was one of the first high-speed, heavy-duty trucks. And I went back to the dorm that night and said, I think we got a good name for the band. And so the whole thing was really kind of an accident. I just went away to college thinking I was going to do one thing, ended up in a rock and roll band, and now 30 years later, I'm still in that same band.
I started out as a folk singer in Chicago. Just, you know, I was in a little Simon and Garfunkel duo for a while, and I used to play shows just standing there with an acoustic guitar playing, and I think that that's really what initially was the attraction between REO Speedwagon and me, because the band had an album out already, and they were having some problems with the lead singer that was with them, and you know, the band was just this real powerful, you know, just a powerhouse rhythm section. They were just awesome, you know, big amps, and when they came out on stage, it was like, whoa, these guys, you know, are a force to be reckoned with. And meanwhile, I'm just like, you know, some kid with a flannel shirt and hush puppy standing over at the Earl of Old Town singing my folk songs. And but I think that that's, you know, what over time really kind of defined the sound of our band is, this geeky folk singer in front of this, powerful rock and roll band. And it took us a few albums to kind of figure it out, to how we could make those two styles of music work together. Well, I mean, I grew up listening to music from Broadway plays. My folks are very, very into Broadway plays. They still go to New York every year and just, do the Broadway play thing. And my dad used to play Harry Belafonte records, so I kind of got a little of that rhythm vibe, I think, from them. And but when the Beatles came out, that's when it really hit. I mean, I'd been taking guitar lessons for a couple of years before then, and I really kind of didn't know why. It was just kind of a compromise. I wanted to play the drums, my parents wanted me to play the piano, so we kind of compromised on the guitar. And I just took lessons, and it was fun and everything, but when the Beatles came out and I saw them on Ed Sullivan, it was like, that's what I want to do right there. Hold the phone, baby, this is it.
I now know that I got my piano style from Johnny Johnson, although I wasn't smart enough to know that at the time, because as you know, he's one of the geniuses behind the Chuck Berry's sound. And I think a lot of young keyboard players, this would have been in the middle 60s when I really started teaching myself to play the piano, and Johnny B. Goode, I think, might have been, 56 or something, 58 or something like that. So, and Jerry Lee Lewis a little bit also, and so I think most rock piano players had influences from that. And even Floyd Kramer a little bit, and got a lot of my organ playing style from Al Cooper, who literally just faked the organ part on Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, and Dylan heard him over in the corner playing the organ. The guy was a guitar player, but Dylan goes, "Okay, you're playing organ on this one." So I think that song influenced a lot of organ players. Some of the best organ licks to this day, they're all in that song. And then as the band got a little more polished and we started doing ballads, then that was a whole new style of playing piano, which we sort of learned note by note in the studio when we were arranging the song. But I think my rock and roll influences are, I'd go with Johnny Johnson, Jerry Lee Lewis, Floyd Kramer, Al Cooper.
I hear Felix Cavalier from the Rascals out of you a lot.
You know, Felix Cavalier, that is a good observation, because I was a big Rascals fan. That was also when I was just about the band. The year or two before the band started, the Rascals were real big, and I definitely got some of that Felix stuff in there too, and of course some little bit out of Spencer Davis group, and you know, and Deep Purple, and a little bit of everything rolled in there. It's really hard for somebody who learned to play a musical instrument in the '60s. It's hard to pinpoint your exact musical influence, because it was just coming from every direction. There was so many innovative things emerging there, so many good bands and so many good keyboard players, that it's really hard to decide exactly who it was that you got all your best stuff from.
Originally, I wasn't a singer. I just played a little rhythm guitar in the bands that I was in. And then I remember one time someone suggested that I sing one of the songs, and I was like, all right, I'll try that. You know, I never really was considered the singer, but yeah, it just kind of happened. You know, again, my mom used to write poetry and write song parodies, so it was very common for me to, you know, come downstairs in the morning and see the kitchen table just strewn with a thesaurus here, a dictionary there, you know, pads of, you know, legal pads and just paper everywhere, and my mom just sitting there, you know, writing. So, you know, when I was a kid, sometimes I would just sit down at the table and just write. You know, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I think that, you know, a lot of times kids just kind of get into the spirit of what's going on even before they know what it is, and then little by little, you just find yourself doing it. So it never seemed weird to me to be doing that. So, you know, when I started playing guitar and started thinking about writing songs of my own, it kind of made sense. And in fact, that was really what drew me to the Beatles. Was before the Beatles, there were singers, and there were musicians, and there were you know, songwriters, and it was all kind of, everyone had these separate jobs, but the Beatles did it all themselves, and that was really appealing to me, that you could play your own guitar, sing your own songs, write your own songs. That made sense to me. That somehow I felt I could do that. All the songs are based on life experiences. I think that for me, that it's the way it usually happens is that something will be bubbling up, you know, something will be inside, and it just so happens I'll sit down at the piano or sit down with the guitar, and it usually comes out at the same time. Usually, for me, the music and the words are kind of intertwined, and those are usually the songs that end up being the ones that I have the most confidence in, because I just feel like whatever that point was, whatever that inspiration was that inspired the music, it inspired the words at the same time. So it's like, it makes it so I don't really have to think about it. I know that this music and these words were meant to be together, and I feel that, and when that's really strong, then, you know, you can kind of get a feeling that a song is gonna make an impact. It's a hugely rewarding feeling when people really can feel like a song that I've written has affected their life in some way. That's just, you know, sometimes when that, you know, I don't think about that often, but sometimes someone will come to me with that, and I'll actually just think about it for a second, and I get great joy from that.
I know it's been a learning experience, because I was once just your standard 3-chord rock guy, and he's written some songs that were a little more difficult to play. I remember doing Can't Fight This Feeling in the studio. It's the first time I ever sat down and tried to play a ballad with any precision, and I kept getting so frustrated they had to bring in a actual cymbal from the drum kit so I could start beating on it every time I made a mistake. Instead of beating on the piano, I was in danger of ruining the piano. So they brought me a drumstick and a cymbal, and every time I would mess something up, I'd start banging on the cymbal. And we went through a few cymbals, but we got the song finally.
See, I write these songs that you know, because I'm like, I know nothing about how to play the piano. I just taught myself. So I write this kind of simple thing, but in my head, I know what I really want it to sound like, and that's
what he makes me do.
So that's what I make him do.
Yeah.
So has Neil taught you how to play at all? Anything?
I'm unteachable on any musical instrument. I can only play what my fingers will play, and luckily I got Neil to kind of make my songs sound like someone knew what they were doing when they wrote them.
We sometimes say we try to make his brain work through my fingers. That's part of the process. So that's why we need to bring in drums and stuff to beat on in between, because
it's scary.
It's a strange connection.
Process, yeah.
The connection doesn't always work, but eventually it does. For one thing, I mean, besides the fact of course, a voice is always a big signature for any band, and Kevin has written many of our most successful songs, and he also does have that, you know, somebody's got to be there calling the plays, or chaos will result, and we all just kind of look to Kevin to do that. I don't know if he likes being in that spot or not. Sometimes it can be very difficult when some of these shows where we all walk out there and we go, how are we going to pull this one off? And I go, I'm just going to let Kevin worry about this. I'm going to hide behind the piano and let Cronin deal with this ridiculous situation. So it's a very comforting feeling.
Kevin, Neil said that he really, if he could change things, he'd want to be a singer so he could get more chicks.
Well, he's making the first moves in that direction. He does play guitar on one song now, and
That's
I think,
right.
and since that's happened,
my entire dating career has really gone through the roof.
that and the haircut.
Yep.
I think those were the
I've
two
had
main.
2 dates this year,
Right.
And that's like more than the last 10 years combined. So once I started playing guitar, that really took me through the roof.
Neil actually has a nice singing voice. Like some of the demos that have come into my possession of songs like Variety Tonight and One Lonely Night. Neil's got a very interesting voice. You know, it's tough with a band where, like us, where there's where my voice is so recognizable. You know, whether that's, you know, I'm not saying whether that's a good thing or not, but I mean, at least when you hear me sing, you know it's me, and the band is kind of, you know, has maybe benefited from that a little bit, because when one of our songs comes on the radio, it's like, oh, that's an REO song. That's that annoying voice of the singer in REO. So most of the songs, no matter who writes them, I end up singing them. But, you know, that's just kind of how the band
I have a
evolved.
very recognizable voice too. It's just that that's not necessarily always a good thing.
I mean, I think the spirit of the band has been real consistent. I mean, you know, because the songs are the one thread that has been there from the very beginning. And you know, there are songs that we still do in concert that I wasn't in the band when the song was first recorded. So, but I've kind of made them my own. And so I think that the, you know, while certain band members have changed, somehow the consistency has been through the music and through the spirit of it. It's always been kind of a up thing. It's always been, you know, pretty positive type of music that we've played, and
I think the way that I've changed personally is just that I appreciate it so much more, because back in the 70s and even part of the 80s, we were crazy partying rock animals like anybody else, and you know, riding the wave of a big success and just taking it for granted. And I think now, right around now, I'm just really appreciating what a good thing we've had all this time. And that appreciation is one thing that keeps you going. You're going, man, who would complain about a job like this? You know, just looking out at all those people. So that's one way I've grown, just really just not taking the thing for granted anymore. I mean, one of our fans put it the best. When Dave and Brian first got in the group, this was the guy, he showed up and he said he was ready to just hate the whole thing. And he walked up to Dave and Brian and he said, "You guys didn't hurt nothing." I think that just sums it all up.
That pretty much sums it up eloquently, I
yes,
might add.
eloquently, yes. And actually, we knew what he meant, and we didn't really take it as an insult or anything, because this was a guy who was such a hardcore fan of the old version of the group that he was just prepared to not like it. I'm not sure why he came to the show, but he came, you know, prepared to not like anything. And by the end of the show, we used to see that over and over. Like, people would come skeptical that we were going to pull it off with some new members, and by the end of the show, they just didn't care. They were into it as much as ever. So that's a great tribute to Brian and Dave, that they tried that hard to make the transition. They didn't start trying to yank us in a new direction right away. They've slowly put their own style in at the proper rate, and now they actually help energize the group. I think we're probably a little more hard rocking right now than we would be without those two guys.
I mean, after 11 years, we've kind of built the band back up to the kind of the status that we had when Alan and Gary first left, and it wasn't always like that. I mean, excuse me, when Dave and Brian first joined the band, I mean, the first tour we did with them, we were playing clubs. We really did start over again, because, you know, Gary Richrath was a huge part of this band, and he's a huge part of the history of the band. You know, he and I produced all those big records back in the 70s and 80s, and you cannot, you know, underestimate his contribution to what this band is today, and I have a lot of respect for what he did. The fact that he isn't able to play with us anymore, well, it's like I said before, what are you going to do? Are you just going to call it quits because one guy isn't there, or are you going to try to carry on? When we made the choice to carry on, we wanted to find two guys that were going to stay with us. Number one, two guys so we spent some time trying to find the right people, not just the right musicians, but people that had the same kind of mindset as us, and people we could get along with. And we stripped it down, man. We were playing some dive gigs back there in the early 90s, and just little by little, people started to accept us, and it was almost like the way the band started off in the early 70s, playing bars, and then, you know, widening our horizons as time went by, and we kind of did it again. And so that's another reason why this tour is so it's so rewarding, because this is kind of the payoff for all that work that this band did together since the late 80s.
Yeah, it gets in your blood, and now and then you need a break, but it's really not all that bad. The traveling is the hardest part. I always say the hour or two that we're on stage, we would do that for nothing, but what we're getting paid for is all the traveling.
It's, I mean, I say it up on stage every night. It's the best. I mean, you got to picture yourself being up on a stage, with 10,000 people out there. You look around, you got your best buddies hanging out up on stage with you, and girls screaming, throwing their underwear at you. Everybody's singing along with the words of songs that I remember when they were just a little. No one had even heard the songs yet. It's an awesome feeling every night.
Of course, when you get in front of a crowd, and it's just heartwarming. Like, where did all these people come from? Why did 20,000 people come to see a bunch of guys that have been doing this for 30 years? And you just go, bless their hearts, let's just go play great, and they do. That we get our energy from the fact that those people have supported us for so long.
This tour, I felt more. Just more personal power. I mean, I literally feel every night when I walk out on stage that nothing can stop me. I don't care where we're playing. It can be, there's certain cities in this country that are intimidating. And I walked out on stage in New York City this year, and it was like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna give it to you. It's up to you if you wanna, how you wanna react to it. But I'm not gonna be at all affected by the audience's reaction in that way. I'm just out there, and I just know that eventually you're going to be on your feet dancing and singing along, whether you like it or not. And that's just kind of the attitude that I have this year. And it's a great feeling to have. I mean, we've accomplished some amazing things this tour, and yeah, I feel like we're at the top of our game. We just appreciate every person that comes to our shows and buys a ticket, buys a record. It's like when it was all happening, you know, in the 70s and 80s, and we just had one hit record after another, and when the albums came out, and they would, you know, if it only sold 3 million instead of 4 million, we were like disappointed, you know. I think we did. We were just riding the wave that was just incredible. And when you look back on it now, the chances of that happening to anyone are so slim. I mean, with all the bands out there and all the talented songwriters and performers out there, for you to be one of the few that actually breaks through, it's an incredible bit of good fortune, you know, and it takes a huge team to do it. It's not just us; it's everybody surrounding us, but it's the people that will continually come out and spend their hard-earned money, you know, to come and see us play, and to come in and, you know, to bring this DVD home and put it on and play it for their kids. Or it's incredible, and I appreciate every single one of them. I look out from the stage every night and I go, man, this is awesome. Look at all these people that are still coming, excuse me, to hear our songs, and it's the best. All I can say is that.
Well, definitely the people that buy this DVD are some of our best fans. They have helped bring us to one of the happiest moments in our career, and now it's all down on audio and video for everybody, for the people that watch it, and for we that performed on it. It's just really one of the it's a documentary of just one of the high points of our career, and without all the people that have been supporting us from out in the audience all these years, it wouldn't exist. So this is for you guys and for us.
Thanks, you guys.
Yes.